For those of you that think once you go black, you don't go back, I've got news for you. Frank Castle did. That's right, the Punisher went from white to black just to pull a 180 and come back as a white dude. Hello, and welcome to a new segment we like to call What the Fact. I'm your host, regular Guy Zac. And today we will be looking at the story arc of the time the Punisher became a black man, only to later turn back into a white man. Story-wise, it starts off with Frank Castle, the Punisher, being forced to work for the Kingpin. The Kingpin and an unknown accomplice are doing this to get the Punisher thrown in prison. He takes out thugs working for a competing crime boss in order to get his pal Microchip back from Kingpin and his goons. How does he know they have Microchip? They send him one of Microchip's fingers as a present. While working for Kingpin, Punisher ends up getting the police's attention. He's captured and sent to Rikers. However, he gets the job done, but Microchip is dumped in Thailand. Then the story splits. While in Rikers, Punisher is attacked by a group led by one of his few surviving foes, Jigsaw. He's beaten and has his face cut up to mirror Jigsaw's ugly mug. Punisher eventually escapes prison by posing as another inmate trying to escape with his crew. On Microchip's end, stranded in Thailand with no money, no form of identification, and no way back to the States, he's left in a jam. He manages to get a briefcase of money sent to him, but to claim it, he has to provide his identification to the owner of the store holding the money. As he has no ID, Microchip decides to prove his identity by recounting a video game he designed, which luckily enough, the store owner with the money owns. After his escape from prison, Punisher has a bounty put on him by Kingpin, forcing both he and Microchip into hiding. Microchip finds a plastic surgeon to help Punisher out. The surgeon, a former doctor turned drug addict / prostitute, does as requested and makes sure that no one will recognize him after the surgery. After a 5-day nap, Punisher wakes up and the doctor tries to warn him about his appearance. However, he just rips off the bandages, only to be shocked at what he sees in the mirror. His skin color has now become that of a black person's. This is the point where the staff working on the comics was changed, for obvious reasons. At the end of the arc, issue number 59, Mike Baron is removed from the project. He's replaced by Mark McLaurin with artists Val May-Erick and Al Williamson to take the helm. They conclude the arc that Baron was working on by issue number 61, and things return to normal for the Punisher by issue number 62. What do I mean by normal, you ask? Well, to spoil the ending for you, and this is a warning for those of you who haven't read this story, white. He went back to being white. For whatever reason, Baron thought it was a good idea for old Frank to be black for a while. Now, if your head isn't spinning because of this story, then congratulations. You have read a lot of weirder comic book storylines, and trust me, there are way weirder out there. But for now, we'll focus on this storyline. Anyways, to put this back into context for you, after his change of appearance, Punisher goes on the run and ends up in Chicago. The first thing that happened to him is that he's pulled over for erratic driving and swiftly beaten by cops. Luke Cage steps in and saves the Punisher from the state troopers. During this time, the Punisher goes by the alias of Frank Rook to make sure he won't be recognized. Rook hires Cage to make sure he can get to a stash hidden in the city, to which Cage agrees to on the term that there will be no killing. They make their way to the stash, only to discover that the money and weapons Rook had hidden are gone. He's unable to pay Cage for his assistance, but impresses Cage with how he handles himself. This prompts Cage to ask if Rook is willing to help him clear an apartment building of drugs. Cage specifies that, again, there will be no killing. The drug clearing operation fails, gearing Frank up to handle the next attempt in a more Punisher-like fashion. Towards the end of the issue, Punisher's magical plastic surgery skin change starts to fade, turning him to his normal skin color. Seeing this, Punisher skips town on Luke Cage. Punisher is then kidnapped by drug operations head and his goons. He was tipped off to the knowledge that Punisher is the one disrupting his business by the Kingpin's accomplice. This is the same accomplice who helped Kingpin come up with the elaborate scheme of getting the Punisher in prison in the first place. Luke Cage drops by and saves Frank again, knowing of his whereabouts by following him after his mysterious town-skipping ways. By now, the plastic surgery's effects are completely gone and Punisher returns to form. He and Cage then dismantle the group that kidnapped him. With Punisher back, Frank decides to go back home and resolve some unfinished business. However, he ends up having an altercation with Cage over the payment Luke never got. And that's the story of when the Punisher was black. I hope you've enjoyed this segment for What the Fact. Let us know what other material you would like for us to talk about, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. But only if you want. There's no pressure.